All right, 8 a.m. It's my first time attending a TED Talk in person. Got my eyes, ears, heart, mind wide open. Got my coffee, got my notebook. I'm ready to hear great words spoken. I'm ready for ideas, concepts, art, and inspiration that challenges my previously upheld notions and prevarications. 10 a.m., everyone here is a lot smarter than me. Everyone has all kinds of experience and degrees in things like theoretical applications of quantum entropy and sociological considerations of neurochemistry. I'm like, hello, I write fiction. Just kind of make stuff up. Sometimes I make it up right off the cuff, which is good because it gives me the skills to bluff and pretend like I belong in this room and stuff. 12 p.m. Everyone here is 10 times smarter than me, but now it's all right because I got my neurons firing. Synapses feel like they're rewiring. Like maybe I should call Zuckerberg or just see if Google is hiring. I think I'm experiencing some kind of intellectual osmosis or possibly just sensory overload-induced psychosis. 4 p.m. Everyone here is 100 times smarter than me, but now I'm feeling more educated, more inspired, more empowered from hearing the content in the last few hours than the last few years of political rhetoric. Side note, I think we need a few more scientists in politics, or maybe just a few more people in politics who vaguely understand science, or maybe just a few more people in politics who aren't aggressively anti-science. Sorry, just got a little distracted. Where was I? Oh yeah, everyone here is a billion times smarter than me. I'm one of maybe 3 people here without multiple PhDs, and I did give up taking notes quite a few hours ago. I figured I'd just go home, watch the videos. 5 p.m. I've never really been the let's swap business cards type, but now I'm handing out details like it's going to save my life. Like, we have to collaborate. We have to work together. You think my idea is clever. I think your idea is clever. But I definitely think they'd work much better together. You know what they say about birds of a feather. Let's meet up next Wednesday, whatever the weather, or Thursday, no pressure. Okay, so here I am. First TED, spinning head, a little bit too much red, lots of great words said and challenges accepted, preconceptions altered, information collected. So now my last question is, what next? What thought, what action, what breath, what challenges, what hurdles, what tests, what dots do I still need to connect? Because I feel a little bit like Bruce Wayne after too many energy drinks. And speaking of drinks, when this last guy is done on stage, do you want to meet at the bar? Because you know what they say, great thinkers also make great drinkers, and I'm in a room filled with incredible people, and while I might not be your intellectual equal, I'm ready to write some great new stories and a whole lot of sequels. Thanks. All right, so what I'd like you to do is I would like you to think about your first art gallery. And when I say art gallery, I don't mean the Louvre or MoMA or Goma. I mean the first place where someone showed you that art was valuable, okay? Now, probably it's going to look like this. The humble refrigerator, right? Inside, moderately useful things like milk and 19-day-old pizza. Outside, the really useful stuff, art and photographs. Now, this is a very simple and very important way to show children that art is valued. And when they're young, we do this for them all the time. Children are very creative. As a teacher and author, I get to see all kinds of crazy ideas that kids come up with. Recently, I had a kid come up to me and show me a picture, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "It's a love ghost." And I said, "What is a love ghost?" And he looked at me like I was an idiot. He's like, "It's just a ghost that loves you heaps." I was like, "Cool, all right, you'll be the next Stephen King, awesome." But kids are really good at this. They come up with this stuff all the time, and when they're young, we encourage them. Now, when they get to high school, things change. They got to start thinking about their careers, and they say, "Mom, Dad, I want to be a writer, or a musician, or a painter," and you can watch the color drain from the parents' faces, and they say something like, "Well, sweetheart, why don't we just keep that as a hobby and just get a job working for a corporation that slowly erodes your will to live and earns vast amounts of profit from exploiting its labor force and destroying the environment, like a normal person." It's a real shame, but I see this all the time. Now, just out of curiosity, I'd really like to know, can you just put your hand up if you consider yourself any kind of artist? Okay, so even in this room of amazing people, those numbers are lower than I would like. Now, when I ask this when I'm doing school presentations, I'm sure you won't be surprised. The early years prep, grade 1, little Forrester fingers. You go up through the grades and the numbers start to deplete. You get to grade 12, and the only ones still putting up their hands are the ones with the green hair and the piercings. Nothing wrong with having green hair and piercings, but it's a shame the numbers drop off. So what I really believe is what happens is in the early years, we see this time as a cute, adorable, but somewhat frivolous time before real life begins, and the art that's made in this time as equally frivolous. When we describe an adult's artistic output, we notice it in the language. We say Picasso's work, Chopin's work. When we describe children making art, we just say free time or play, and that's significant. Particularly because in early childhood education, we use the phrase, play is the work of the child. Just because they're having fun doesn't mean what they're doing isn't important. Play is how children learn, it's how they grow, it's how they explore, it's how they investigate, it's how they develop. It's also how we could do the same if we were a little bit smarter. Now, in the early years, children often express really sophisticated ideas that we often miss. We often underestimate their capabilities. I'll give you an example. Look at this picture and tell me what you see. Well, it's a car race, obviously. If you knew that, you're probably under the age of 8, and you'd be quite correct. So what happens here is you might look at that and go, well, that kid's an idiot, they don't know how to draw. But what happened was, as she was drawing, this kid was going, boom, boom, boom. And what this actually is a visual representation of the kinetic motion of an imagined car race. It's quite complex, quite sophisticated, there's a lot going on. But we often look at surface value and miss the philosophical complexity of children. Another example is when I do author talks and kids tell me sometimes, not always, but sometimes, their school libraries ban them from getting out certain books, not because of mature themes, but just because of linguistic complexity. Doesn't matter if they're advanced readers or they just want to have a go or mum and dad can help them read them, they're not allowed. That makes me angry, especially when I wrote that book. So what I get them to do is I get them to go to the local black market contraband dealer, the public library, just let them get out anything from that place. So that's one way around it. But kids are often really sophisticated. We often miss this stuff. What I want to do is just quickly show you a few wonderful local examples of artists who really appreciate children's contributions in significant ways. So this first one here is from a wonderful local group called Imaginary Theatre. If you have children, please take them to their shows. They're fantastic. So this is called The Voice in the Walls. Now for this show, children were invited into a space which is really not thought of as child-friendly, the heritage-listed site of Government House at QUT. Now, for this performance, kids had to help solve a mystery. It was very interactive, very participatory. Kids got to wander all throughout the building and explore and interact with the actors. Now, very interestingly, the director told me the best performances were the ones where the kids were not directly chaperoned by teachers and parents, because their instinct was to say to the children, sit down, be quiet, stop interrupting, what are you doing? When the whole point was for children to be expressive and explorative, as they naturally are. The next one I want to take a look at is from the Asia-Pacific Triennial a couple of years ago. This is called In Flight. Now, this entire installation is made up of contributions from children that were assembled by the artists and is shown as part of that exhibition. And as you can see, it looks pretty spectacular. Now, what I like about this is that it's children's art being shown in a very prestigious gallery, in an important place alongside the work of great masters, old and new. And that's a pretty special thing for a kid. Now, I think galleries are very important. I'm a big fan of this one in particular. I also think that they're not the only place for art, We need to take art to where it will be seen, to where it will be explored and investigated. Often when I argue with people who don't like street art, they'll say things to me like, well, if it's real art, it should be in a gallery. I'll say, yeah, sure, if it's a real animal, it should be in a zoo. So the next example I want to show you this is one I had the privilege to work on a few years ago. My friends Anna Cook and Rosie Solomon came up with this, a beautiful concept to celebrate the International Year of Biodiversity. We worked with the kids of Hill Road State School, hundreds and hundreds of kids. We worked for several months, and the kids studied the birds in the local area. They learned about biodiversity. They sketched the birds. They made these paper mache models of the birds. They looked really great when the wind blew, especially. So in the middle of the night, Rosie and Anna and myself crept into a park near the school, a public park, and hung all the kids' art. So when people came down in the morning to walk their dogs, to have their picnics, they found this park filled with the art that the kids made. It looked amazing. The kids were able to give speeches, they gave out pamphlets on the importance of biodiversity and really engaged with their local community in a really significant way. And I was particularly proud. The deputy principal told me that a lot of kids who usually hate school were jumping out of bed in the morning to come and work on their birds. So if you've ever had to wrestle a non-compliant child out of their pajamas in the morning, you'll appreciate that art can be a great tool for connecting kids to learning. So what I want you to take away from this little chat is to please show your children that you value their art, and do that by making it alongside them. Remember, art doesn't have to be good or bad. It's a joyful exploration. It's a way to explore this disgusting, wonderful, terrible, miraculous, fantastic, awful, magnificent world that we live in. And I'd like to leave you with my all-time favorite ending to a story. It's not by Austen, it's not by Orwell, it's not by Murakami, it's not by Dostoevsky. It's by an 8-year-old kid whose name I don't remember. And it goes like this.
When the giant volcano exploded, it destroyed everything in the world except for one lion and one diamond and one toilet.
And what I hope is that all of you uses the joy of artistic exploration to find your lions, your diamonds, and your toilets.